Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast here at the Culture Wave Media Network, and we are back to discuss what feels like our first Disney movie in quite a long time, and it might be Liz's first on the network. We are covering the 2025 live-action version of Lilo and Stitch. I am one of your hosts. My name is Darian Liz. I am joined by Liz Seiko.
What's happening?
Excited to talk about this. You shottied this review,
right away.
I think, before 2025 even hit. You were like, I'm in. Excuse me. Hand up. I would like to join this review. And so I've been on this like nostalgia trip recently with this, with the original animated film because my goddaughter is a huge fan now of Stitch, like obsessed with Stitch. My girlfriend also, favorite Disney character is Stitch. So there you go. So I've seen Lilo and Stitch a number of times. And when they first announced this, it played into that whole trend of like Disney is literally just remaking all of their classic movies. Now, 100%. Lilo and Stitch, correct me if I'm wrong, came out in 2001? Or was it a little after that? 2003?
I think it's 2002, but let me double check.
All right, you'll double check that. But it hadn't been 2002. So it hadn't been that long in terms of like this is I think the shortest gap in terms of time where they decided to make a live action remake of the animated film. And I know when it was first announced, a lot of people were worried about it. And I was like, well, at the end of the day, they're just going to make Stitch just as cute. But a lot of it was all those supporting characters and where they were going to go with this. But Liz, I'd love to hear your broad overall thoughts on this movie because it's getting a lot of mixed reviews, which you talked to me about before we started rolling. So I'm curious where you stand.
I'm as shocked as maybe other people are, but I loved this movie. The reason I shottied it though was because Lilo and Stitch was one of the OGs that I watched growing up. And so I just knew even if it was so bad and getting horrible reviews like Snow White did, I was going to be seated in theaters watching this because I wanted to be one of the first people to watch it so I could get my own opinion on it before I started seeing a ton of reviews pop up. But I really loved it. I was very moved, very emotional at the points that I kind of expected to be. I'm really surprised that it's getting as much mid reaction as it is. But truly, all that I've been seeing online is people just aren't happy with the changes that they made. They're not necessarily saying that it's a bad movie. They just aren't happy with the creative changes that they made, which, we'll get into some of them. There were some things that I kind of miss, or there were some things that I wish they had done different. But overall, I think if you like this movie or you like the story of Lilo and Stitch and you're going to see it, you're going to have a great time and you're going to just enjoy it as much as the first one. It's not like they're changing the complete storyline. They're just changing small things.
I agree. I think if you're a fan of the theme and the heart of what Lilo and Stitch is, you're going to come out of this movie being really satisfied with what it is. Everybody that I know personally that saw it loved it. You're not the only person that has said that. I've had family and friends that have seen it that also echoed the same sentiment. For someone that has become really Lion King, I know a lot of people love the live action remake, but the Lion King I just think it works better animated. And I think that the photorealistic animals, it just plays a little weird. With this, you don't have too many CG characters. But even the ones that you do, they play really well. I thought I think her name's the Grand Master or the
Grand Councilwoman.
Grand Councilwoman. She looks great. She looks exactly like the animated version. Jumba and Pleakley, I was really pleased with the way that they decided to do that. Now, one of the big criticisms is we don't get Gantu, but at the same time, I want for the people who don't understand, because I'm sure a lot of people don't follow it for this, but this movie was made by today's standards, a minuscule $100 million. And it's already made, I think, $488 million worldwide. It's one of the biggest movie releases ever, domestically for Memorial Day. I'm pretty sure that Memorial Day weekend, it was the biggest ever between this and Mission Impossible. So it's obviously a huge hit. People are coming out in droves to see it. Could they have spent a little bit more money to get a Gantu in here? Sure, they could have. But is this character necessarily unbelievably missed? I don't really think so. Now, I know that there are people that have criticism with the way they decided to go in the antagonistic route in this movie, but it didn't bother me as much. And before we dive into the story of it, really, I want to start with the heart of the movie, which is our title characters, Lilo and Stitch, and their relationship, but also Nani, who comes in because so much of this obviously is about the familial aspect of this movie, and Ohana, which is like the key to Lilo and Stitch. So for you, the lead actress that plays Lilo, her name is Maia Kealoha, and Sydney Agudong plays Nani. And Chris Sanders, who is one of the co-directors of the original film, who also voiced Stitch in the original, comes back to voice Stitch in this. So for the lead characters, what were your thoughts on the way that they portrayed the characters?
Perfect. No notes, no changes. First of all, Nani and Lilo are like, they need to have such chemistry on film. They need to already have a camaraderie. And I think that I was looking at some interviews of the two of them, and I think that they just have a vibe of like sisterhood kind of. And so the two of them, I think it was incredible casting. Really, if they had found, they were lucky that they found the little girl that played Lilo, Maia. And I was reading something that when they were doing the casting for Lilo, they just kept getting young actors who kind of has stage parents that are like forcing their kids to do it and are like, make sure you look cute, make sure you smile. And like, not that they don't have like their own personalities, but like Lilo's kind of, she's a reckless little messy girl a little bit sometimes, you know, like she's all over the place. She kind of causes trouble, and they were getting these picture perfect kids. And then Maia came in and just was like a breath of fresh air for them. And they were like, this is our Lilo. And that just translated to screen. Like, I don't think she seemed like she was being told how to do things. I think that they were just like, here's a water gun, like go crazy with it and like just have a good time. And then they CGI'd in Stitch.
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing with that is, and even if you look at all the other live action, like I think the other time that it worked so well was when they did it, which I was saying off screen before we started rolling, my favorite of the live action movies was Jungle Book. And when they get Mowgli, you get kind of this unknown who comes in, who embodies exactly who Mowgli is for live action. And I agree. I think that Maia does such a great job with Lilo. I think that, I know some people disagree, but I think what they do with Nani's character, I actually think is a good way to change the story a bit, going into the live action remake with what they decided to do with her. Her having an ambitious career and also getting help from Tutu, who is played by Amy Hill, who is a favorite, I'm sure, of yours from 50 First Dates.
Absolutely.
She's one of your favorites. She's great in the movie. And I love that they bring back Tia Carrere, who did the original voice as Nani, as the social worker that's checking in on them. So she gets the support from other people around them. And then Stitch, again, Stitch is Stitch. Stitch plays exactly the way Stitch plays in the animated movie. The intro to Stitch is almost beat for beat the exact same as the opening of the animated film. Like the only difference is literally Gantu. Like every other thing in the opening sequence is exactly the same, almost down to the dialogue.
Yes.
And so again, Chris Sanders has created this icon. Like there hasn't been a Disney character since, or like there was such a big gap in terms of iconic Disney characters, and Stitch has stood the test of time and become like one of the most lovable, legendary, unique, creative creations for Disney. And so, I mean, just from that perspective, I think that they knocked it out of the park
100%.
with Lilo, Stitch, and Nani. The supporting characters is where I think some of the discourse kind of comes in. And at this point, we are going to be talking spoilers if you haven't seen the movie. But I'm sure a lot of people, if you clicked on the trivia, you have seen the movie. But if not, you should go check it out. We both really recommend Lilo and Stitch. We think it's a great movie. And it's not just like for young kids. It's a great family movie in general. Everyone would enjoy it. But so many of the iconic supporting characters, like the Grand Councilwoman, like Cobra Bubbles, like Jumba and Pleakley, they're all back for this. And they got some starry names. They get some big names to play these characters. We have Courtney B. Vance, who does Cobra Bubbles. We have Hannah Waddingham, best known probably from Ted Lasso. She's also in Mission Impossible this weekend, so she had a big weekend. She does the voice of the Grand Councilwoman. And we get Zach Galifianakis as Jumba, and we get Billy Magnussen as Pleakley. So it's a really interesting, eclectic group of actors that they bring together. I want to start by saying, and then I would love to hear your thoughts, Billy Magnussen as Pleakley is perfect casting. Perfect casting. He is so good as this character. And I think, and I'm forgetting the actor's name from the original film who does the voice. I think it's Kevin McDonald. Something along the lines of that. But he has an iconic voice as Pleakley. People love the character of Pleakley. The CG works really well, and they decided to do a really creative way to do the disguises in this movie that I think plays really well. But Billy Magnussen as the voice of the CG Pleakley and the human version of Pleakley is chef's kiss, perfection, no notes, like Liz said. He is fantastic in the role. I'll get into the others in a little bit, but curious your thoughts on just those overall castings and then Pleakley.
No, I agree. I think that overall casting for me, pretty spot on. The only thing that I had mentioned before off camera was Jumba. I wanted the Russian accent. I know it's a hard dialect to do for some people, so probably for Zach, maybe they tried it for all we know, and then they were like, yikes, like it's really not coming through well, so let's just stick with his regular voice. But in that opening scene when like he just was talking, I was like, no. I was like, oh, I like it just adds that element, which I was telling DJ before, of mad scientist kind of, and showing that he, I don't know, it just makes him seem,
he has more personality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Versus it almost makes him seem less unique in a way, kind of having just a down to earth voice. But that being said, I didn't know that they were gonna have them kind of be human and like not be aliens the whole time. So then when that change happened, totally made sense. I was like, okay, yep, now we're just watching him have like a great time playing Jumba as like a human being.
Yeah, and I think it works on so many different levels. Like it works from the technical side of it, for the side that people probably don't care about, but they saved so much money.
So much money.
So much money only having Pleakley and Jumba as the CG characters for probably 6 scenes, maybe. Like you have the opening sequence, obviously. You have a couple individual scenes with them, and then you have the end with Pleakley. You have this whole ship sequence, obviously, with Jumba. And so I think you save a lot of money with that, but you also get a really good like the
camaraderie between the two of them.
Great chemistry between
gorgeous.
The two of them, but also like their intro as humans, I think is so funny and so great. Everyone in the theater was laughing at the fact that they had to learn how to walk like humans.
Yep.
I think it plays really good. The fact that they just grab the first two people that they see, and it just happens to be Galifianakis and Billy Magnussen, I think is great. So that's a welcome change. Cobra Bubbles is a little bit different in this movie. Instead of Cobra being like the social worker, they added, like I said, that new character, Mrs. Kokoa, that's played by the woman who does the original voice of Nani. And so Cobra plays a CIA agent that actually disguises as a social worker to try to get Stitch as like this US thing. But Courtney B. Vance, like from the moment he was cast and his look, I was like, oh, he would be great as Cobra Bubbles. Now Ving Rhames is really great as the voice of Cobra Bubbles, and I do think he would have done a great job with the live action. And I do think it's ironic that I feel like part of the reason maybe they might have approached him is, one, he's a little bit older, but also like Mission Impossible was coming out the same weekend. That's his most iconic character. Yeah. So that was interesting. But what did you think about the way that they changed the Cobra Bubbles story and Courtney B. Vance's work in the role?
I didn't mind the change up, honestly. I don't think it bothered me really at all, because in the original too, like, he does have CIA vibes. He might even be undercover, right?
Like he said he was previously CIA.
Exactly. So for me, it wasn't really like a big change up. It just kind of added more space to also like show the severity of like, okay, there is an actual social worker involved in this, and it's not just CIA undercover. Like we do have Mrs. Kikoa, who's like clearly already been invested with the girls, not just like coming out of nowhere because Stitch came involved. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it didn't bother me at all.
The one scene with Mrs. Kikoa is actually one of my favorite comedic gags.
Which one?
Which is when she comes for the surprise visit the first time. Lilo's locked Nani out of the house, and she asks if she has tea. And she goes in the cabinet to empty cabinets except for a couple of Capri Suns. Yep. Squirts a Capri Sun in a teacup and then microwaves it. And I think it's just great. It just plays great. The gag plays great for everybody.
And then later on, she's like, cut the high C. Like, we know. Cut the Capri Sun next time.
Yeah, it was Capri Sun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, she's like, just make sure that doesn't happen again. But yeah, I think, again, like, the gags work really well. The CGI, even when we do get the CGI with the characters, they're, like, spot on.
Yeah.
Like, I think Jumba looks great. Pleakley's perfect. Another complaint that people had, and by the way, the director of the film is Dean Fleischer Camp, and he did a whole behind the scenes talking about certain scenes in the breakdown from the animation to the original, and a lot of people were like, where's Pleakley's dress? And like the cross-dressing thing, and he said, trust me, I tried.
And the wig, the black wig.
And the wig. So like that was something that like I know a lot of people might be frustrated online. They're like, we didn't get that iconic look that Pleakley has that is such a great gag in the animated movie, but it's not that the director didn't try. So you can't blame the director's vision, because he obviously wanted it in the movie, but for whatever creative reasons they decided not to go with it. He
also came out and talked about not having Gantu in it. He said that it was just, there's only so much that you can actually do with CGI and live action, and having this huge, like,
yeah, he's a massive character and very uniquely looking. He's like a whale, right? Or I don't even know,
like a shark.
Yeah,
giant shark walking around. I don't know how to describe it. He's laughing.
He's laughing because nobody can break down what Gantu actually is.
And he said, but he did. He said that he stands by the decision, and that it was instead of focusing the attention on keeping his character in there, because it would have been so hard, that he then stripped it down to be able to focus more on the storyline and bringing in the other side characters that were new.
And I think that the Hawaiian aspects of this movie also play really well. Like, you are fully in Hawaii, you're fully in the setting. They filmed obviously in Hawaii. And like we talked about, so the Mizuko is one of the two new characters. Tutu is the other main new supporting character, which I also liked because it gives you that different side of Lilo and Nani. So in the animated movie, I feel like obviously they have the sister camaraderie. It's very obvious. But it comes from a place too, so much of like the maliciousness sometimes, where Nani's like, I'm trying to live my life. And in this perspective, it's more that Nani has ambition. Nani has like plans or things that she would love to do, but she also at the end of the day
has to take care of her sister
and doesn't want to leave her behind. And in the animated film, I think so much of it still plays into that, like, Lilo, you're a nuisance, where in this film it kind of focuses a lot more on the family and what came before and their relationship with their parents, and now Nani being a parent versus a sister. How did you feel about those familial changes? And also, like I said, including Tutu as like this basically like fairy godmother to like Nani and Lilo. You know what I mean?
I think it was smart, because also in the animated movie, I mean, they just don't have the time to like expand into the neighbors, but it feels very isolating for them. You know, it seems
it's
like
just Lilo, Nani, and Stitch.
Yeah, like
with a little bit from David.
They have like no foundation, no support system around them. It truly is just them. And so it makes sense that like they would have neighbors who are offering to help. Also, Nani is supposed to be 19 years old. Like, you're really telling me that a 19-year-old is supposed to know completely how to like run a house and take care of her sister in like a maternal and like parental way? Like, of course she's gonna fail. And so I liked it. I think that it just added more to the story rather than taking anything away from it. It showed that like, and this is kind of the take that they go in the end, is that like, yes, Ohana means family, but family doesn't just have to be blood family. It can be the family that is around you and like helps you in like your time of need. Which then relates to like Stitch coming in and finding his own Ohana, you know, come on.
Yeah. And that's a big thing. The ending of the movie, I guess, is a big,
that's what people hate.
Talking point.
People are hating that. People keep saying that Nani just abandoned her sister by going to college. And it's like, no, she didn't. Like, she didn't abandon her. The
last shot we get is her cuddling in bed.
Her cuddling in bed because she has the like portal thing and can now visit her. But I read a review, and also anybody that hasn't watched the live action and is just ripping it apart already is crazy to me, because most people online that I have been seeing talking bad about the film say like, well, I'm not even going to go and see it if they've made all these changes. Don't do that. Go and support the movie, then make your own decision after, because I think that these changes were handled very well and they weren't just random decisions that were made for no reason. It actually helped the storyline progress in like a realistic way. But people are like, she just left her sister to the system and like gave her back to like social services. And it's like, no, she literally just left her with her neighbor that lives next door.
Who basically just becomes the guardian because she's going to college. And
because
she's talking to her every
19
day.
years old and wants to go to college. Like, and she got a full ride to college. Like, let that girl live her life. She doesn't have to.
She's an intelligent marine biologist. Cobra Bubbles is pitching in, which I love. Like, I love the fact that Pleakley and Cobra stay behind.
Yeah.
And I like that's like you're building on the familial aspect, which at the end of the day, like you're talking about, Liz, I think the thing is that this movie is handled with care from people that clearly love the source material, people that love Lilo and Stitch. And you know that one, we're going to get a sequel because there was a lot more that came with it. Like you said, I think there was a second movie. There was a whole series based on other experiments. And the movie's going to do like I think this movie's going to hit $1 billion. It's going to be one of the fastest movies to hit $1 billion ever.
It's doing
I think
really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's almost close to 500 million worldwide in general right now. I think it's like 440 million worldwide now, or 480 million worldwide in like 4 days, which is crazy. I'm like this is a movie that I would like go and see again. Like I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it with my mom. I would go see it with my girlfriend. I would go see it with my goddaughter.
Yeah.
And so you're someone who, I mean, obviously has a great runtime, but the original movie is 25 minutes shorter than this movie, but they expand on the story. How did you feel with the pacing? Because to me, it went like it was perfect.
It was gorgeous. It was great. I could have sat there for maybe another 5-10 minutes.
Couldn't do any more than that.
Maybe one more surfing sequence is all that I could have had at the end. But no, I think it was a really great runtime. I think that you know what? There's really no big moment too that you're like, they didn't do this. Like they didn't recreate this moment. They really almost had it verbatim until they got to the point where they were like, okay, we need to start making it a little bit more realistic for the live action story.
Well, because I guess the biggest change that really happens is the antagonist, because Gantu is the real antagonist, and in this film
it becomes
Jumba. Jumba doesn't get necessarily a redemption arc, which I do think we're gonna see in the future anyway.
Yeah, because it's not like he just completely went. I mean, you think that they're definitely going to do a sequel?
Liz.
You think?
Liz. You don't think they're going to do a sequel? That's crazy to me.
What are they going to do the sequel about?
They will announce the sequel in a week.
What are they going to do it about?
They could do anything. They have the whole television series that they did. They already alluded to Experiment 627, which is like in the movie.
What are they going to bring Stitch's girlfriend?
100%. She's another character that people love. I think it's Angel is the name of the character.
I don't know. I never saw that one.
Okay, well, they're definitely going to make a sequel.
Oh.
It's going to make $1 billion, and they're totally going to make a sequel. They made Mufasa, the Lion King. They're totally making a sequel.
Any Disney executive that's watching this, don't do it. I don't think we should.
There's no way that they're not going to. But, and I think that could be a way where they maybe decide to bring Gantu in at some point if they figure out how they want to do it CGI-wise. But I don't know if that's necessarily a given. But I do think, like, there's going to be room for Jumba to get a redemption arc if they decide they want to go down that route. These are characters you want to be around. And the other reason I think they're going to do a sequel, at least just one sequel, is because they're going to need to take advantage of her age. They're going to need to film quick because she's not going to stay little forever.
That is true.
So they're going to have to do that quick. But so again, Gantu, the antagonist, is a big change. And the other big change, which we talked about before we started rolling, was telling Vinny, is that it kind of hits you over the head a couple times with some very emotional beats.
I was not well multiple times.
Yeah, there were multiple. So here's the thing, and I'm curious your thoughts, because my mom even said to me when we walked out of the movie, she was like, that's like tough for kids. Like there's a couple near-death sequences.
Stitch left in the bottom of the ocean.
So that's in the animated movie. But then David goes and saves him. But we have like a real.
Yeah, but you don't see him like.
I know.
You don't see him to that extent. Like you just see her be like.
It plays different in live action, obviously.
It plays very different.
I mean, Lilo goes to the hospital in this movie.
Too. Yeah.
And then you deal with the reality of benefits and healthcare.
Oh yeah,
which I thought was
her
interesting.
saying goodbye to her sister too felt just heavier.
The scene on the hammock, great scene.
Great scene.
Yeah.
Well, even her, just like her in the hospital talking with what's her name? What was the
Miss Kakoa?
Talking with her and just like staring off, like hearing the news that like she does need to say goodbye to her. I was like, oh my god. I was like,
well, that's what I was gonna say. Like the
heavy.
emotional part of it Like you're someone, again, you don't see a lot of Disney movies. You haven't seen Disney movies in a while. Did this feel like a classic Disney movie to you? Like it hit you with all the feels that you want from a good or I guess not even just animated, but a good Disney movie? Because to me, this felt like a throwback.
Yeah, I would say that it did. Do I still probably think that I like the original more? Yes, because I grew up on it. But does this make me more like hit me more emotionally? Yes, I think the live action does.
And is this a movie that you will go back and rewatch like the animated movie?
I think so.
I think so too. It's a really fun trip to the movies. And
and then I mean they have the classic like emotional moments too of him being like Stitch finally speaking at the end of being like, this is my family and it might be broken, but like it's still good. And so, although, wait, I have one gripe now that I've just realized.
Okay.
Where is the ugly duckling story? That they should have kept in.
I think that's fair.
Because I feel like in the original, the ugly duckling, when they read that book, is the start of the switch in Stitch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they do it differently in this movie. It's kind of like he causes the problem of Lilo going to the hospital.
Yes.
And then he feels like he's breaking up the family, which, again, it's a different emotional beat. I think that the ugly now, I'm not trying to speak. I understand both sides of it. The ugly duckling is probably just a little too...
What?
They don't want that in society nowadays. They don't want kids knowing about the ugly duckling and how it's kind of a bullying tactic. If I had to guess... But
that's like, I don't know. I loved that part. And then he's like walking away and he like sees the family of ducks walking and he's like, I don't have my family.
Yeah, I know. It's adorable and it works really well in animation. But I do think that, like I said, the way that they articulate the story for live action, I just think it works really well. They made really smart, creative choices taking from the animated and making it to live action. So
I also think that the animation of Stitch really great because sometimes, I mean, what was it just recently that they put out like the first trailer for Shrek?
Is it Snow White maybe?
Was it Snow White?
With the dwarves.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
But they also just put out like the newest Shrek that Zendaya is going to be in, and the internet was ripping it apart.
About the way they changed the animation.
Yeah, and so I think that sometimes with these, when they try to recreate them, but then change them slightly to be like a newer version. And like, it's like, no, just.
Well, this was I think, and Vinny's off camera right now, but I feel like this is similar to when we talked about Sonic, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sonic, they tried to make it not as accurate as the games, right? And then so
and then
Sonic
the internet like bullied them pretty much. It was
a big deal. They reshot. They decided they pushed the movie back. They said we need to redesign Sonic. But I do think that's the right thing to do when you get the fan reaction, because now that's spawned into a multi-billion-dollar franchise.
Yeah.
Like people love the Sonic movies. You need to keep Stitch's look. It's iconic, and I think it's the same thing again with Jumba and Pleakley. Like Pleakley again looks just like the animated version. Jumba looks just like the animated version. So with Gantu, again, for people who might be hating on it, it might have just been too difficult for the artists to do under the time constraint when they were trying to do it through CG tests. It could have just been something that they weren't able to crack. And I would rather them not do it if they can't do it right.
Also, the whole time I would be like, you're telling me none of these people notice like a giant alien walking around? Like you're really trying to sell me on that?
That's true too. I also think though that at the same time, it doesn't take away from the movie that he's not in it. And that's why I think that some people are complaining just because they want to keep everything from the original, but it's like that's not what they're trying to do here. It's not Lion King. They're not literally ripping the exact animated movie and transitioning it to live action. So I mean, I had a really good time with this movie. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to seeing it again. I probably will see it again. Before we get into scores, do you have the numbers on the movie? How much it made?
Yes, I do. Based on IMDb, it has... Okay, so the estimated budget was $100 million. They're saying opening weekend U.S. and Canada was slightly shy of $150 million.
That's just U.S. and Canada, though.
Yeah, just U.S. and Canada.
Do you have the worldwide number?
They're saying gross worldwide is 360.
Okay, that's a little bit lower than I thought it was, but still, it's already tripled its budget in 4 days. Also, it was
a for U.S. it was a holiday weekend.
Yes, but also on top of that, its marketing was great. Like Stitch was everywhere.
Yeah.
Like for weeks now. So it's a very successful movie. It's already done really well. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be checking out if they missed out first week, and because I had to look at multiple times on Memorial Day weekend to try to get a seat that wasn't in the first 2 rows.
I couldn't find it.
This is the most crowded theater experience I've had probably since Barbenheimer. If I had to guess, probably.
No, when I saw Sinners was
so I did not
so packed.
I saw Sinners in IMAX, and I saw it during the week, so I had a different experience.
Okay.
With that, but I'm sure it was very crowded because you also saw it like second or third week.
I saw it the second weekend
when the hype started kind of building for it.
It
for the
was
people that weren't like
packed.
Yeah, but for me, like this is like the theaters were sold out everywhere. So for me, it was probably the closest thing to Barbenheimer.
Also, when I saw Wicked, it was sold out.
Wicked was still very crowded, but it wasn't as crowded as Lilo and Stitch for me.
Wow, no, I'm seeing some crowd. I've been in some crowded rooms lately.
It's gonna be big numbers though, and I think Wicked did like 780 million, but I think Lilo and Stitch is gonna blow Wicked out of the park. I think it's gonna make a crazy amount of money because, again, people want to see the rewatch value is also high for this movie. So, having said all of that, is there anything else, or you think we covered it all?
I don't think so. I really enjoyed it, and the haters are gonna hate, but you should watch it before you hate on it. So
give us your score, Liz.
I am giving this a solid 9.
I have the exact same score as you. I'm also gonna give it a 9. Like I said, I think it's probably my second favorite live action Disney movie that they've made behind Jungle Book, and all the iconic things that you love from the original animated movie are here.
Yeah.
So they still pay tribute to that, and they do the best that they can. And I think that a lot of the castings were really great. There's no bad castings at all in this.
There's nobody that you were like, eh.
Yeah, everybody did their job. Again, Lilo, Stitch, Nani, perfect casting. I thought Pleakley was great, and I thought everybody did a really good job all around. So we'll see if they make a sequel, but we love the movie. We both gave it a 9. So curious your guys' thoughts. Again, it's a mixed reaction, so we'd love to hear if you guys do have gripes with it. What are your gripes with the movie? If you guys loved it, let us know why you loved it. We'd love to have a conversation with you guys, so just leave a comment below. Give this video a like if you guys can, and hit that bell for alerts, and subscribe to us, where we are covering a bunch of different things on the channel right now. We have our finale review upcoming for HBO's The Last of Us. We have reviews upcoming for Mission Impossible, for A24's Friendship, for Karate Kid Legends. There's a bunch of stuff coming. I mean, it's the summer season. So Superman review is going to be coming later. Fantastic Four, all that good stuff as well. We also will be covering a couple of film festivals the next few weeks. The Lighthouse Film Festival, which is close to where we live in LBI, New Jersey. And also we've already announced this, but excited to announce again that we're going to be doing the Tribeca Film Festival in New York this year, covering a lot of films there as well, and hopefully have interviews for you guys. So stay tuned for that. And then you guys can also follow us on social media if you don't already. All that stuff is below me in the video. It's also in our YouTube description. We're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, here on YouTube, obviously, Threads, Facebook, a bunch of places you guys can find us. So thank you for doing that. And just signing off, I'm Darian Scalomoni.
I'm Liz Seiko.
See you guys later.
This is The Culture.